Picture this. You're at the beach, the sun is shining, cold drink in your hand and not a care in the world. And in the distance you hear, "Man, fuck them surface dwellers." And you see a behemoth slither from the water faster than the eye can see and sucker punches you and start rapping about that moist life. You ever see a fish throw up gang signs to white pasty men? You ever see a fish eat nails without any milk? That's Slardar, and he's a certified hood classic. An RN. What's an RN? It means realist nigga. Slardar is a thug, but you don't know his story. You may think he got his strength from the intense pressures of living underwater, but that's not it. It's from the intense pressures of living up to his parents' expectations. Maybe his family got fished and got turned to $5 conveyor belt sushi when he was a little guppy. Maybe he just missed a few hugs. Or maybe you can get that shit out of here. Slardar is here for two things: protecting booty and gains. He does push-ups on fucking whales, he punches sharks for fun, and he hits that puffer fish with the dolphins. And no one touches his booty. Slardar is a Slytherin, which is part of the Deep Ones, and they guard a vast network of sunken cities. Slardar patrols this network of cities to protect a vast amount of riches that are hidden within. He makes sure that no goofy goober are trying to steal anything like the Krabby Patty secret formula. Once in a while, he goes up to the surface to make sure that none of the surface dwellers are planning any funny business. And if anyone does try to steal anything, Slardar will hunt that person down in relentless pursuit. Yeah, that's it. He's just a security guard who just really likes his job. Slardar is a strength hero typically played in the offlane role. Being from Bikini Bottom, he's better when he's on water and does not need a lot on him to get that sweet pump going. You have the river, but he can also create his own puddles. With the power of the sea, he can even remove your clothes and reduce enemy armor by a lot, making them more susceptible to all physical damage. Just because he's a big fish without any legs doesn't mean he won't chase after you, and he moves fast. He's great at dueling and is more focused on single target physical damage, so I find him weak against heroes with multiple units or illusions. He can give true sight against heroes with invisibility, so he does well against those with invisibility in their kit or those who build into items like Shadow Blade or Glimmer Cape. Slardar's innate ability is Seaborn Sentinel. Whenever Slardar is on a puddle or the river, he gains bonus movement speed, health regeneration, attack damage, and armor. I mean, he's a fish guy. Of course, he's gonna get stronger when he's moist. As much as possible, be on puddles or the river when farming, fighting, or going around the map for best results. Guardian Sprint. Guardian Sprint is an active buff that, when active, grants Slardar bonus movement speed and allows Slardar to pass through units. Yeah, that's it. You just become a fast fish. Slytherin Crush. Slytherin Crush is an AoE ability around Slardar that leaves a puddle of water and damages and stuns affected enemy units. After the stun, affected enemy units are slowed. This is Slardar's main initiation tool and best to use on as much units as possible in the middle of the fight, as the puddle spawn will help Slardar become a better fighter overall with its increased stats. This is why we play Slardar. Bash of the Deep, or just Bash, is a passive that after every 3 attacks, Slardar's next attack deals bonus physical damage and stuns the target. Aside from being an excuse to get 6 moon shards so you can beat on someone faster than I beat my meat, Bash is good in duels and disrupting key targets in teamfights. Bash also goes through spell immunity, so you're sure to disrupt enemy heroes no matter what. The bonus damage helps in dealing huge burst damage early on or for farming. Slardar's ultimate is Corrosive Haze. It's an active debuff that removes a lot of armor and provides true sight to the affected target. Affected targets also leave a trail of puddles, which triggers Seaborn Sentinel. Corrosive Haze is overall a good time for Slardar and everyone else. It shows invisible units and enables not only Slardar's damage, but also any other physical damage you have in your team. The mana cost is pretty cheap, so don't be afraid to spam these on enemy heroes even if you're not going to attack them, as the vision provided from it helps tremendously for the team. Corrosive Haze is also great for farming and for taking down Roshan. Shard and Scepter. Shard makes Slytherin Crush apply Corrosive Haze for a short time to affected units. Corrosive Haze will be applied before the damage from Slytherin Crush. This makes Slardar better overall, as you don't have not to apply Corrosive Haze if you jump in with Slithering Crush, as you can possibly give the whole enemy team Corrosive Haze, which will increase the overall DPS of your team. The instant Corrosive Haze also helps when trying to get vision of any invisible enemies if you're able to land a Slithering Crush on them. You want this. Scepter increases the radius and duration of the puddle spawned from Slithering Crush. Scepter also buffs Seaborn Sentinel by increasing the bonus HP regen, armor, and additionally gives status resistance. This helps Slardar stay in the fight longer and stay effective as he has more room to work with due to the increased puddle radius. You want this. For facets, we have Leg Day and Brine Guard. Leg Day makes the beginning of Guardian Sprint have slow resistance and more bonus movement speed. Brine Guard makes Corrosive Haze increase Slardar's armor by 40% of the total armor reduced. More often than not, I think I'd go for Leg Day more than Brine Guard. I'll always say yes to more movement speed, but not to armor. If the enemy team is mostly magic damage, then Brine Guard will not be as effective as against an enemy team full of physical damage. Getting Leg Day will help chase down targets, escape from bad situations, or set yourself up to initiate for your team and overall get around the map faster. For runes, you should play more aggressively as you have catch with Slithering Crush. The cooldown is low enough for a second Slithering Crush if a fight breaks out or if you need to secure any kill. Don't go in thinking you'll win, or if you're against multiple enemy heroes, make sure to go in with your team, and if it doesn't look favorable, just leave. If you can stun enemies at the last second for runes, then all the more power to you. In the laning phase, Slardar is alright. He can be kited out by ranged heroes, but he has the potential to get early kills due to him having a lot of stuns from Slithering Crush and Bash. Threaten enemy laners with Bash by keeping in mind how many attacks you have left until your next Bash, so you can catch enemies who are too close to you off guard and unload your damage. If you have the chance to kill, keep attacking, and when they start to get away, stun them with Slithering Crush. If you have a lane partner who has hard CC like Lion or Shadow Shaman, you're more likely to get those early kills. Best case scenario if you're against melee heroes, but if you're against ranged heroes, just get last hits and don't force engagements too much as you can fall behind. Don't forget to take advantage of Bash and Corrosive Haze to farm jungle creeps. In the mid game, you should either be farming as Slardar needs his items or going in with your team for pickoffs. Take advantage of Corrosive Haze and Bash so you can make quick work of jungle creeps for farm. Don't be afraid to spam Corrosive Haze when you see enemy heroes as the vision helps and could potentially set up pickoffs with your team. Not a lot of heroes can duel you with your tankiness, CC, and damage, so don't be afraid to assert your dominance if the opportunity shows itself. In the late game, Slardar starts to fall off as enemy heroes are starting to get tankier, so your CC is your biggest asset. You don't push towers very well, but with the level 20 talent where you increase the damage of Slithering Crush in combination with Shard, you'll push enemy creep waves very hard, so take advantage of that. Don't forget to spam your Corrosive Haze if you can, as vision is very important. Keep lanes pushed and go with your team for pickoffs before any big pushes. For level 1, I'd start with Slithering Crush. With its instant stun and low cooldown, you have the potential for early kills. Getting Bash first is inconsistent as you may not get into fights early on, and if you do, I think it's too slow to get going. And getting Guardian Sprint first does not do anything but get you to your lane faster. Next, I'd get Bash for easier last hits and you can start pressuring the lane with it. Next, you can either go Guardian Sprint or Bash, but I normally go for Bash. And for level 4, get Sprint if you got Bash previously and vice versa. Then max out Bash, Slithering Crush, Guardian Sprint, and level up Corrosive Haze whenever you can. Here are the items I'd start with depending if I'm expecting spellcasting or not. Then, here are the items in order. I'd start with Power Charge for the movement speed, attack speed, and stats. Next, I like to get Echo Saber. It helps you get to the next Bash proc faster, has a slow to help Slardar stick to his target, and helps with mana, which Slardar has issues with. It can also be upgraded later in the game into Harpoon, which helps catching up to targets. Next, I go for Blink Dagger, so you can start jumping into fights and initiating for the team. Next is Shard. Getting Shard will increase your overall DPS, and spreading Corrosive Haze to all affected targets will increase the DPS of your team's physical damage. If you pick Brine Guard as your facet, getting Shard will increase your survivability. Next is BKB for the CC immunity, so you can maximize your effectiveness in fights. After that, build how you see fit. Here are the items I'd recommend getting after the mentioned items. And here are some Slardar clips.